What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Rogue's Passage. This weekend we're going to dig into an Oathbreaker deck tech. It's one of my favorite formats, and we just got a heater of a white Planeswalker for this format. Let's get into it. What's up? I'm Tanner Cherry. Today we're going to dig into Elspeth Stormslayer from Tarkir Dragonstorm for Oathbreaker. If you're not familiar with Oathbreaker, I'm sure you are if you're here, but if not, head up to oathbreakermtg.org and check out the rules of the format, the ban lists and everything. This format has been around for years and it's picking up some steam. We've been playing it a lot in our local play group, and Elspeth and Ugin are really solid inclusions to this format, as well as the signature spell we're going to talk about for this deck. But first, we're going to talk about Elspeth Stormslayer. This is a 5-mana mono-white commander that is essentially like an Anointed Procession on a stick. But not only that, it has the ability to create its own tokens. It has an ability to turn those tokens into finishers, and it's got, you got to have your vegetables. It's got removal, as Elspeth usually does. This card is a beater. It is a self-sufficient engine. It's able to do everything you want on just the one card. And the ability in this format to pair it with a signature spell of an instant or sorcery that complements it makes this very formidable. I'm also choosing, sort of thematically, but also because it is a great spell for this deck from the Tarkir commander decks. This is Will of the Mardu. It is a 3-mana instant, and you can only cast this when the Planeswalker is on the battlefield, so you're going to get both modes. First mode is create a number of 1/1 red warrior creature tokens equal to the number of creatures target player controls. So whoever's got the most creatures on the battlefield, you're going to create that many times 2. And then because they resolve in sequential order, you're going to get the second trigger, which is Will of the Mardu deals damage to target creature equal to number of creatures you control. So usually I think you're probably going to pop this, make 4 tokens, which will become 8, and you're going to be able to deal 8 damage towards something else. So lots of token creation and removal in the command zone. I think that this is going to play very well. And yeah, I put the deck together to see what I could do with this. If you have suggestions, throw them in the comments. I know I didn't touch the land section too much. I'm sure there's some stuff you can put in there, but I kind of wanted to just crank this out and see where it was at. There's a huge maybe board of cards as well that I was considering. Go ahead and comment and tell me what you think I'm crazy for keeping in and what I'm crazy for keeping on the maybe board. But yeah, let's get into this. All right, command zone. We've got Elspeth Stormslayer and Will of the Mardu. Very nice pairing. Let's go down to the first category here. The Anthem category is something that you could focus on a little heavier than I did. I didn't want to really put a whole bunch into that because Elspeth is also an Anthem each turn with her 0 ability, which also gives them flying. I will note flying until next turn, so it plays offense and defense very well. But Intangible Virtue is this beautiful version from Wilds of Eldraine is only 35 cents. I love how cheap those are, and they just look so beautiful. Intangible Virtue is creature tokens you control, get +1/+1, and have vigilance. So you got to defend Elspeth. You kind of got to keep her out, and this is going to do a great job doing that. Throne of the God Pharaoh in a token deck, or anything that you want to go wide with, this will end games. This is 2-mana legendary artifact. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses life equal to the number of tapped creatures you control, which I guess is a bit of a non-bow with the vigilance from this, but I'm pretty sure it's going to have its time in the sun here. All right, let's get into the draw section. You do always want to have your hand full, and this first one that I want to talk about, Battle Angels of Tyr, this card is crazy. I don't think I've ever played this before. I'm really excited to cast this. It is 2 generic, 2 white. Flying Myriad 4/4. Whenever Battle Angels of Tyr deals combat damage to a player, draw a card if that player has more cards in hand than each other player. Then you create a treasure token if that player controls more lands than each other player. And then you gain 3 life if that player has more life than each other player. Now, when you attack with this, it's going to create token copies of itself attacking each other player. And with Elspeth's ability, it's going to create 2 of those each. It's going to hit pretty hard. And however the triggers roll out, I think you're going to be happy. Next up is Caretaker's Talent. This is a house in standard right now. It's just a great card. As a mono-white token lover, this thing is just amazing. It has everything you want on one card. It is 2 and a white for an enchantment class. Whenever 1 or more tokens you control enter, draw a card. It triggers once each turn. The 1-mana level up is when this class becomes level 2, create a token that's a copy of target token you control. So I'm pretty sure you're going to have even a 1/1 for 1. It's just a fantastic rate for this card. And then if you ever have 4 mana sitting around, it sort of protects protection from flooding, you can just level it up to level 3 and get a +2/+2 Anthem. Next up is Enduring Innocence, 1 white, 2/1 lifelink. Whenever one or more other creatures you control with power 2 or less enter, draw a card, triggers once a turn, and if it dies, it's going to come back as an enchantment, so it's very difficult to remove. This is a card that will really be painful to see exiled, but man, this thing is, the rate is insane. Esper Sentinel's got to be in there. The cool thing about Esper Sentinel essentially does a Ristic Study impression, where whenever an opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, draw a card unless that player pays X, where X is Esper Sentinel's power. Elspeth's 0 ability is going to continually add power to this as well, so it's going to juice it up and make it even more valuable. We got 3 amazing artifacts in this deck with Halo Fountain, 2 and a white. You can pay one white and untap it. Untap a tapped creature you control and create a citizen token. You can pay 2 white and untap 2 tapped creatures you control to draw a card, or 5 white, untap 15 tapped creatures you control and win the game. I've never actually popped that 3rd ability, but I'm hoping that maybe I can pull that secret side quest off with this deck. Idol of Oblivion as well, 2 mana artifact. Now it has an ability 8 and tap to sack this artifact, create a 10/10 Eldrazi. It's not really the reason it's in the deck. It's there as a 2 mana draw a card every turn. You will likely be creating tokens every turn, so just tapping it to draw a card is pretty good for 2 mana. Skull Clamp in a token deck, gotta have it. It's 1 mana to equip a creature and kill it and draw 2 cards off it. It's really good. We also have Tokasha's Welcome, 2 and a white enchantment. Whenever one or more creatures you control with mana value 3 or less enter, draw a card. Triggers only once each turn. Still fine, real good. And to round it out with this draw effect, we've got Welcoming Vampire for 2 and a white. It's a 2/3 flyer. Flyers are great. Anything on a flying body in Oathbreaker is valuable to check the opponent's Planeswalker loyalty. This is a flyer that has the same trigger. Whenever one or more creatures you control with power 2 or less enter, draw a card. Triggers once each turn. All right, this is the mana base that I started with. I know that this could have some juicy includes, but you got to put Nykthos in a monocolored deck. Choose a color, add an amount of mana of that color equal to your devotion to that color. We got 21 planes. I've chosen the Dragonstorm art for this, just for thematic reasons, and a Reliquary Tower. I do believe that we're going to be drawing a decent amount of cards every turn, so I think it's the only non-color producing land in the deck that I've got so far, but it'll very likely be needed. All right, we got a category here to pad your life total. I did have Suture Priest in here as well. It's in the maybe board. It was very difficult making cuts for this deck to find the balance of what I wanted in here, and I think Soul Warden and Soul's Attendant are both maybe enough. They both trigger when any creature enters the battlefield and you gain a life, so that'll trigger when your opponents play creatures as well. All right, we got 4 cards in the protection category. One of my favorites in this format, and also this art is just stunning. Deification is 1 and a white. As it enters, choose a Planeswalker type. That Planeswalker type has hexproof, and it essentially gives the worship effect to your Planeswalkers. So as long as you control a creature, if damage dealt to a Planeswalker you control of the chosen type would result in all loyalty counters of it being removed. Instead, all but one of those counters are removed instead. This is a great card in decks that have Planeswalkers with static abilities, and not only that, but a 0 ability or a plus ability that is what you want to hinge upon. You do not mind your Planeswalker always just going down to 1 loyalty and keeping that static effect on the board without having to recast it. And I mean, we also have Worship in the deck as well, because we're going to have creatures, and I do have this Amonkhet Invocation version hanging on the wall back here, and I'm really excited to put it in this deck. If you control a creature, damage that would reduce your life total to less than 1 reduces it to 1 instead. So this will just keep you going for a couple extra turns unless somebody wipes the board. And you know, if they got it, they got it. Let them have it. Grand Crescendo is in here in the protection category because it's a token creator, but it also gives creatures you control indestructible until end of turn, and you can pay 0 into X just to get a 2 mana instant to give your creatures indestructible. It's probably going to stay in my hand for that reason if I don't have any other ways to create tokens. But if you add mana into that X, you create that many creature tokens, or well, I mean, twice that many, hopefully. And Teferi's Protection, of course, just an amazing card. It's now a game changer. Well, I guess there's no game changers in this format, but this card's great. I'm sure you know that, and this art is absolutely beautiful. All right, we got 4 cards in our ramp section. We've got the classic Arcane Signet, we've got a Felwar Stone, the Pearl Medallion, of course, in a mono white deck. Also, shout out to Elena Richards for that art. My word, is it beautiful. And Smothering Tithe, 4 mana. It does the thing. Whenever an opponent draws a card, that player may pay 2. If they don't, you create a treasure token. And it's a 5 mana Planeswalker, so having a little bit of acceleration is pretty key. All right, in the removal section, I think I started with Swords to Plowshares and Path to Exile, but I realized just before recording this that just targeting creatures isn't really... I mean, I know they're single mana spells and they're very efficient, but I did want to switch these out for 2 mana spells that can also take out Planeswalkers, and Get Lost as well will target an enchantment. So we've got a little bit more versatile removal in this now. All right, here's the token section. Who would have guessed? Anointed Procession is in the list, 3 and a white. If an effect would create 1 or more tokens, creates twice that many of those tokens instead. Of course, with this and Elspeth, it's going to quadruple. It'll get quite out of hand. A new inclusion here from Duskmourn is the Dollmaker's Shop. For 1 and a white, the left side says whenever 1 or more non-toy creatures you control attack a player, create a 1/1 white toy artifact creature token. And then it's got a Haymaker 4 white 6 mana unlock to give you creatures you control have base power and toughness each equal to the number of creatures you control. So as long as that's sitting on the battlefield, it's going to help you make tokens, and it's going to give you the ability to just close out and swing huge. All right, this next one I got to give a shout out to Oz. He turned me on to these talent cards here. We talked about them in our recent episode on the podcast, going over the 50 cards that were really great to play in Oathbreaker format. And these talent cards are incredible. This one is Elspeth's talent, 2 generic and 2 white. You enchant your Planeswalker, and it gives it a new ability. It gives Enchanted Planeswalker has +1 to create 3 soldier tokens, which in this deck will it'll create 6 tokens, which is pretty nutty. And also, whenever you activate a loyalty ability of that Planeswalker, creatures you control get +2/+2 and gain vigilance until end of turn. So if you activate the 0 and give them a +1/+1 counter and another +2/+2, I feel like this is a heck of a card. Lots of these mono white token cards that are able to do multiple of the types of things that you want in this type of strategy are just auto includes. And I didn't really know that this card existed until putting this together, and I'm really excited to play it. We got Mondrak Glory Dominus. This is also another Anointed Procession effect, and you can sack a couple creatures to make it indestructible, and it's a 4/4. It hits. All right, we got Ocelot Pride, Good Kitty, 1 white, first strike, lifelink, ascend. This card is nuts. At the beginning of your end step, if you gained life this turn, create a white cat creature token. Then if you have the city's blessing for each token you control that entered the battlefield this turn, create a token that's a copy of it. So this is a 1 mana Anointed Procession, and it's going to eat some removal. I don't think a lot of people are going to want to leave this on the battlefield. All right, we got my bestest kitty girl, Oketra the True, the original, the OG, 3 and a white, double strike indestructible. She can't attack or block unless you control at least 3 other creatures, which I'm sure you won't have a hard time doing that. And it's got a 4 mana ability to create a 1/1 white warrior creature token with vigilance. Now, this is a 3/6 double strike indestructible. So with Elspeth's 0 ability, it's going to be attacking as a 4/6 flyer, and it is going to hit for 8. And I think it's going to get the job done. We got to get Overlord of the Mistmoors in here. It is 5 white, but you're almost never paying that. You're going to do the Impending 4 for 2 white, and whenever it enters or attacks, you create 2/1 white insect creature tokens with flying. So hopefully you're getting 4 insects off that, creating 8 power off 4 mana in the air. It's an insane card, and if it ever gets to the point where the suspend counters come off, it's gonna do some damage. Next up, straight out of Streets of New Capenna, this card is so cool. Rabble Rousing, 4 and a white. It's got Hideaway 5, so that means when it enters the battlefield, you're gonna look at the top 5 cards, tuck 1 underneath it, and then when you can trigger its requirement, you're gonna play that without paying its mana cost. But also, it's just an enchantment that says whenever you attack with 1 or more creatures, create that many 1/1 citizen tokens. And hopefully you're gonna get double that with Elspeth's trigger or any of these other cards that do that. This should not be hard to get to 10 and play the card underneath for free, and I hope you have a wonderful time with this card. I know I will. We got Renewed Solidarity, 2 and a white enchantment. As this enchantment enters, choose a creature type. I'm assuming you probably want to do something like Soldier or whatever you have at the time that's most valuable. It gives you a +1/+0 anthem for that creature type. And at the beginning of your end step, for each token you control of the chosen type that entered this turn, create a token that's a copy of it. Staff of the Storyteller is a pretty cool artifact, 1 and a white. When it enters, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. Whenever you create 1 or more creature tokens, put a story counter on it, and you can tap 1 and a white to remove a story counter and draw a card. All right, we got some more cool art from Duskmourn. This Toby Beastie Befriender, 2 and a white for a 1/1. When it enters, you create a 4/4 white beast creature token. It can't attack or block alone. And it also has a little bit of insurance plan in regards to being able to get your tokens flying over top of the board. As long as you control 4 or more creature tokens, they have flying. This card is super cool. I really love it. And man, am I excited to play this deck. I can't wait to get an episode recorded here soon with this. All right, we got the tutor category. This is Enlightened Tutor. It's an obvious inclusion. I believe on my last count, it had about 14 enchantments in the deck that you can tutor with this. So I actually think that maybe Heliod's Pilgrim might be worth its weight to put in here. But again, sometimes having a lot of access to tutors can really slant the power level of the deck. So, you can throw more tutors in if that's the way you want to play, or you can just stick to the really clutch silver bullet of Enlightened Tutor in here. And that's it. That's 60 cards. I do love Oathbreaker, not only for shuffling 60 cards, but for the simplicity of building the deck. And I've got, I think, 32 more cards here in the maybe board. I encourage you to click the link in the description to this deck list and tell me which of these cards I am an absolute Neanderthal for not including. I mean, this Gold Knight Commander seems like it would be a very, very good include. I think I'm going to put a lot of these kind of in the deck box and experiment with swapping them in and out. I think I took Oketra God Eternal out because I didn't know if I was going to be casting a lot of creature spells. I was going to rely on the triggering of making tokens, but there is a lot of cards in here that would be great in this, and I would love to hear your feedback. I did post in the Oathbreaker MTG Reddit asking for some feedback. I got a little bit of, oh, actually the card that was recommended in there was one that I didn't put in here. Let me do that right now. Yeah, let's give an honorable mention to Reddit. Mace of the Valiant was suggested. This is 2 and a white. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each charge counter on Mace of the Valiant and has vigilance. Whenever a creature you control enters, put a charge counter on it. So this thing's just going to continually get huge, and you're going to be able to equip it for 3 to something and turn anything you've got into a serious beater. I'm going to have to make another cut, I guess. It's so hard cutting cards when all of them are so good. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this deck tech. Please get in the comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you're playing in Oathbreaker and all the suggestions. Let me tune this thing up. I do want this one to be very powerful, and I think we're going to tackle Ugin next. That deck, I know Emery in our playgroup has been playing that deck, and it is insane. The 2 Planeswalkers that came from Tarkir Dragonstorm have just been absolutely savage in the Oathbreaker format, and I just love it. I love it. If you haven't been playing Oathbreaker, if this is like maybe an inspiration point for you, build one of these decks. Check out my Archidect. A shout out to Archidect as well. It's such a lovely platform. But yeah, click my name on Archidect there on the link and check out some of my Oathbreaker lists. See what tickles your fancy. And thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Thanks for coming to the Rogues Passage, and we'll see you on the next deck tech. Bye-bye, guys. Bye.